So, and let me just remove this overlay, which is click, gone. Oh, no, it's not. Hide. There we go. We are here. So, hello, everybody. If anybody is with us right now, if you are joining us later, then we are delighted that you took the time to do so. Thank you so much. I am Deirdre Morrison, and I am here with Martin Gilchrist. On the back of, should we call it a whim, Martin? A random moment of madness. What have we done? I mean, this a week ago we hadn't really even had a conversation, and somehow here we are embarking on a year-long project exploring the idea of this milestone age that we're both going to hit this year. What is happening to the world?
Do you know what I love about you, Deirdre? The first impression I got was a person who strikes when the iron is hot. Let's not think about this too much. Let's not think about the time that's going to be involved, the effort, the risk, and everything else. Let's just take action and see what happens. And that's what's brought us here today. And you know what? I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to see what unwinds from it all.
Oh, thank you. No, that is absolutely lovely, and I kind of got the same sense from you as well, because within that kind of 24 hours, we were sitting down over coffee, kind of just going, well, would you be interested in doing this? And suddenly here we are. So what are we doing here? I mean, I guess this is one of the things that we should kind of outline first, is that Martin and I are both turning 50 this year, or hitting 50. And this is actually a question. Are we turning it or hitting it? And we really would like some opinions on that, please. What is the terminology that we should be using? And we're actually going to do that within 2 days of each other, which is also quite interesting. But what we would like to do, I suppose, is explore a little bit why this is such a milestone, what's happened in the run up to it, how we're feeling about it, how everyone else is feeling about it, what it means to have got this far, what we've learned, what we've learned the hard way, what we found out the easy way, if anything, and what we are hoping will come about in the coming years. So if it's all right with you, Martin, I would like to fire the first shot, ask the first question. And you mentioned in your post that kicked all of this off that it felt like, in the blink of an eye, you'd gone from being 25 to being 50. And I think that's a really interesting kind of place to start, because what I'd like to know is, if you can remember being 25 that clearly, what was it that you thought 50 was going to be like?
When I was 25, I probably didn't think very much about being 50, if I'm completely honest. There's some moments as you look back over what is probably more than half our lives. Well, if I look back over my life now, I've probably had more than half of it, unless I'm very, very lucky. And there's moments that stand out vividly, like lit up bright in your memory, and you'll never forget them. You'll never forget them. And I got married to Michelle when I had just turned 25. So I was...
Sorry, I lost your sound for 1 second. Would you repeat that? You got married to Michelle and then the sound cut.
When I had just turned 25. So I was just 25 when we got married. And one of those light bulbs, shining moments from being 25 was the morning after the wedding. So we got married in the Templeton, and we were at 6 o'clock in the morning. We got up and we left before all the other guests. We didn't have a breakfast and stuff like people do afterwards. We were up and away before everyone else got up. And I can remember that when we were driving from the Templeton to the airport, there's somewhere along that road that you're going up a hill. I can't remember exactly where it was. And as we were driving up that hill, the sun was rising. So we were driving into the sunrise. And it was just that moment I thought, this is the start of a whole new life for me. This is a start of a whole new life. And it was just one of those magical moments of happiness, contentment, excitement. We were heading off on our honeymoon. I was newly married. I had my new bride in the car beside me with all our hopes and dreams ahead of us. And if I'm completely honest, if I had a thought ahead to where I am now at 50, 25 years later, I couldn't have wished for it to be better. I couldn't have written a script that would take me to the place where I am now that would have made me happier. I suppose some of the things I would have looked for at 25 was to be rich, or to be really successful, or to be really powerful, or all those types of things that you maybe look for as a young man. But honestly, now that I've got to 50, I've realized the importance of relationships, of family, of being happy with your place and who you are and where you are and who you're with,
Mm.
of being content with the work you do and being good at it, and being surrounded with people that actually know you and care about you. And that's where I am now at 50. So if I had thought about 50 when I was 25, I don't think it could have turned out as well as what it had. Because I probably was wishing, or would have thought of all the things that maybe wouldn't have been as good for me as where I've actually got to and where I've actually ended up.
Wow. Well, I think anyone who is kind of maybe off the idea of turning 50 at some stage has probably been just sold the package by you there, Martin. That was fantastic. And such a lovely romantic story as well about you and Michelle heading off into the sunrise. That's gorgeous. Thank you. What a great start.
You're welcome.
So tell me, right, you've now that you're looking back at all of that, what's the thing that at this stage you would never have imagined wanting or enjoying or even wanting less of than you did back then? What's the thing that's kind of fallen away from your focus?
When I was younger, I thought, when you've made it. So Michelle and I we're not millionaires, but we're comfortably we're at a stage in our life now where we probably don't have to work, but we continue to work because we enjoy it so much, and our business is a livelihood more than just an income. So there's a lot of reasons why we work, even though we don't probably need to. And I thought when I reached that stage in life, it'd all be about skiing holidays in Italy and concerts in Milan and all that type of stuff. And that's the sort of stuff that might make me happy. That's where I achieve. But I was sitting with Michelle in Nicky's in Newcastle, and I don't know if you know Nicky's or if anybody does know Nicky's. It's on the corner at the bottom of the town, and it's a fairly straightforward place. It does fries and it does French toast and it does fish and chips and that type of stuff. And we go there frequently after our walks along the promenade. And I was sitting there recently one morning with Michelle, and I said to Michelle, "This is it. This is all I want. This is all I need. Time with you and time with Marty, and to be in my own place, and to just to be settled, calm, happy." That's pretty much where I've discovered I want to be in life. You know, I think I'm in a place. Yes, I have ambitions. You know, I'm thinking about making an application to do a PhD. We're always looking at ways to improve and grow Gilchrist and what we do there, because obviously my son's come into the business now as well, and we want it to be as successful for him as well as for us. I want to continue to improve myself and the relationships I have with people and my usefulness to the world. I want that maybe someday, that when I'm not here, that people will go, "Martin Gilchrist was a good guy. He did something useful for me." I might not change the world, but if one person can say, "Martin was a nice fella and he did something good for me," that for me would be enough of a legacy. But I think the main thing I've realized is I'm happy where I am in my life right now.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, for most people to get to that is something that they won't necessarily see at 50 or maybe even 70. So yeah, congratulations.
I hope it doesn't come across as corny or coy or, look at me, I just want, because I genuinely don't mean it like that. It's genuinely how I feel. But this isn't all about me, Deirdre. Can I ask you
hold on, wait. I'm not finished with you yet. Hold on a second.
Okay. Because not off the hook yet.
Not off the hook yet. And I hope it's okay to talk about this, but I know you mentioned it earlier. So yeah, I mean, you can say, look, I'd rather not, and that'll be absolutely fine. But I mean, I know that you had a fairly serious health event last year, and I'm just
Mhm.
wondering, having had that crop up in your life before you hit 50, which is, I mean, that's quite something, really. Has that,
Mhm.
I guess, has that made a difference to how you see these simple things that you place such value in?
No, no, and I'm
No?
surprised that it hasn't. So, for anybody who
Mm.
doesn't know, and it's not a secret, there's no point in making it a secret. I had a stroke. So, I had a stroke last September, and the type of stroke I had was called a subanachroid hemorrhage. Now, I'm not saying that right; I've mispronounced it, but essentially, what it is, it's a bleed in the brain, between my skull and the brain itself, and it is quite a dangerous thing. So, I found out afterwards that 1 in 3 people who go into the hospital with this don't come out; they die.
Wow.
1 in 3 are disabled permanently, and the lucky 1 in 3 come out and probably won't happen to them again. They're probably back to where they were beforehand. And the doctors tell me that there's no more likelihood of me having this again than any other person um, out there in the community. As in fact, they say that I'm a little bit better off because there may be people out there that I didn't have an aneurysm. It was called a venal bleed, which is it's a less serious version of what could have
Mm.
happened here. And they said I'm probably better off because there's probably people watching this now or will watch this who might have an aneurysm and not even know it. But I have been scanned from head to toe, backwards and frontwards, and pipes stuck into me and everything else. And
Mm.
the doctors would not have let me out of the hospital if I had not been well. So I was probably
Mm.
very lucky, and I
Mm.
count myself lucky. But has it changed my life? Has it changed my view on things? Not considerably. One of the things that surprised me was I had never been sick before in my life. I'd never been in an ambulance before. I'd never had to stay in hospital before. The only time I'd been in hospital was to see other people.
Mm.
And so I'd got to a brave age in my life without having to avail very much of the NHS. And I thought beforehand that if I ever had to go to hospital, it'd be incredibly depressing, that I would get down, that I'd be anxious, I'd feel really bad, it would just pull me down. And the surprising thing is it didn't. I
Mm.
actually was quite upbeat, even though I was in a grim situation. I wouldn't recommend the neuro ward at the Royal to anybody for a holiday. And when I was told that I was going to be on the second day, that I was going to be there for at least 10 nights, it wasn't the best news that to receive. But I never got down.
Mm.
I never got depressed. And I think one of the most important reasons for that was what I found out about other people and what I found out about what they think of me. I found out how important family was. You
Mm.
realize when your wife's coming in to see you every day how much they love you and how much your kids love you. But you also realize how much strangers care, or people that you thought of as loose connections, when
Mm.
they're wanting to get in contact, when they're sending their best wishes, when they're contacting Michelle and looking to support her. I learnt how much good there is in the world, and to an extent, I was surprised by that. I didn't
Mm.
think people would care. I think they would send messages, maybe that maybe say, "I hope you're okay." But the level of love and affection and care and support that I received blew the socks off me.
Wow. That's beautiful. Um, I'm so glad that was your experience from it. That's just
hmm
lovely.
And I learned from that. I learned how important connections
Mm.
and people are, and how important it
Mm.
is to stay connected with people and to care about people because people do matter. We're social animals. We can't exist by ourselves. Before I got sick, I used to have this saying that the dinner you ate last night and the shirt you wear on your back and the shoes even the words, even the language that you use comes from somewhere else. It comes from other
Mm.
people. It comes from your interactions, engagements, and everything else. The person you are is
Mhm.
because of the people that have been around you, supported you, trained you, motivated you, mentored you, and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And there's one thing I learned about being away from my network for that period of time, because I am a very social person. I enjoy company.
Mm,
I enjoy events. I enjoy hosting our own events. I enjoy participating in stuff like this with you. I enjoy coffee conversations and nights out and fishing trips and all that stuff that wouldn't be much
mm,
fun by myself. That's great fun with other people. And for about 3 months, I was knocked out of that. I
mm,
just wasn't fit for it anymore. And it really hit home to me to appreciate the people that are around you
mm.
and what they bring to
Wise
you
words
and what
indeed.
they do for you.
Yeah. Yeah, something we could all maybe take a moment to think about when we're feeling rushed up our feet, or when we're feeling unappreciative, or when we're not feeling appreciated even. It is definitely
You are.
something that
I think we generally are more appreciated than we are. So a couple of things.
yes.
I'm going to take my
Uh-huh.
turn now. Are you
Okay.
ready? Are you sitting?
Alrighty.
Hold
Sitting
on to your seat.
comfortably.
So there's two things I want to ask you. First of all, the first question is, I'm seeing loads of comments coming here, Deirdre, and I know this is almost like a wee experiment tonight to see how this goes and what we need to do and
Yeah.
how we're going to interact with people and all the rest. And whenever I'm commenting on a feed such as this, I do like people to come back to me and say, at least acknowledge them there. I'm going to leave it up to you to dictate or to say or to decide how we approach letting people know that we can see their comments and appreciating those comments. So you can let me know or give me the lead in regard to that. But
Yeah.
I have a question, and
Oh my goodness. Comments. I didn't even see them.
I've
Hi
seen them
everyone.
going
I
through.
am so sorry. Well, thank you for pointing those out to me. I did not even notice those. I was so engrossed in listening to what you had to say there that the comments just passed me by.
Okay, I think we'll take a moment. We'll at some stage up to when and just get back to these people and thank them for coming on. But before we do that, let's talk about the feely stuff. How
Okay.
do you feel? And you will understand feeling more than I do, because this is your area. So as a professional in this area, how do you feel about turning 50? And it's a little bit throwing the same question back to you, but has it changed your perspective on life or business? So it's a little bit, how do you feel? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then throwing the question back to you, has it changed what you think?
Okay. So I actually feel pretty damn good about it, because finally I have a number that I'm going to be able to remember without having to work out from 1974 to whatever year it is now, how old I actually am, which is what I've been doing for the last, 20 odd years. So yeah, 50 is a really easy number to remember. So for me, that's great. In terms of, kind of things that go around that, it's like, yeah, this is a bit more grown up actually. I feel like, I've put in the hours, I've put in the work and the research and all the rest of it, and my gosh, I kind of know what I'm doing. So that is, I suppose, something that it's a confidence thing, I guess. It's like, yeah, this is serious, solid sort of number, and for somebody who does a lot of random stuff, that's kind of nice to have in the background, that feeling of, yeah, I've made it this far. It's it's a good place to be.
Do you feel, because I don't, do you feel like a proper grown up? Do you feel like,
No, no,
I
not
remember when I was young. No, because I remember the point I'm going to make here was, I was younger and I looked at my parents or my aunts or uncles when I was playing with my cousins or whatever the case may be, and I was engaging with people who were in their 50s when I was maybe or 40, even their 40s, but they all seemed much older, and they all
mm,
seemed like proper grown-ups that had whatever they were doing under control. They were in charge and they'd done it in the houses and the cars. For whatever reason, they seemed like proper grown-ups. I still don't feel like a proper grown-up. I know I'm supposed to be.
no. Here's a question then based on that. Do you think that they were just pretending to be proper grown-ups and they got away with it because you were a kid and you didn't know what that actually felt like?
The impression I got is they didn't even think about it.
Maybe they didn't.
I don't think they were
Maybe
thinking
they
about are we pretending or not pretending. Now, maybe that's naive of me. And I've never thought to ask my mum or my dad, were you pretending to be proper grown-ups because you just had to be in charge? But I'm wondering,
I think a lot
is
of people
there...
do that, I do think a lot of people, kind of, you put it in that original post about, people who were too young to be 50. And I think that, a lot of us are just pretty much everyone's making it up as we go along. We have to, that's the way it is. There isn't really a manual for this. So
Yeah.
I think we just, work on the basis that everyone else is making it up too, then it'll be okay. And we're dealing with things as they come to us, and we're doing the best we can. And that's what
Mm.
it is. But, one of the things that I was thinking about earlier is that, when I was a teenager, if I had kind of imagined 50 as a kind of a physical state rather than a psychological state, I think I would have imagined 50 to be pretty decrepit. But, I think I feel now more like what I imagined 30 was as a teenager, you know? So whether this is something that is down to the fact that we do look after ourselves a bit better, we have access to more information and stuff about how to maintain our bodies and look after our health, and what sort of stuff we should eat and all those kind of things. And people, do exercise in a way that they didn't do before. Because I don't ever remember my parents doing exercise per se, but that's because my dad went out and did kind of hard physical work, and I remember my mom kind of still washing clothes and stuff by hand. So there was a very different attitude to what exercise was, and it was quite often digging potatoes and things. So it's a very different world, I suppose,
Uh-huh.
is where I'm going with that. And
Do
I
you
think
think...
that maybe does make it a bit different to be 50 now than it did to be 50 back then.
Now, I was thinking about asking this question, and I'm hesitant to ask it in case it's
Go for it.
inappropriate. So you can tell me if it's inappropriate. If you feel it's inappropriate,
Okay.
I'll take your lead on this. But it may. I hope it's okay. Is it different in your mind for a man turning 50 than it is for a woman? Do you think it's harder or different, or do you think does a man turn 50 have more opportunities in this society, or are we all equal now? But what's your thoughts?
Honestly, I don't really feel qualified to answer the question.
Mm.
um, but what I will say is that recently someone asked me in all seriousness how I had made the decision to let my hair go grey. And I thought this was a fascinating question because I hadn't made a decision. It just went grey. But I think what she meant was, how I'd made a decision not to dye it some other color to stop it being
Mhm.
gray. um, and in all honesty, that decision was based on the fact that I absolutely hate sitting at the hairdressers.
Mhm.
And I just, it's like if I could dye it once and it would just stay that way, that'd be fine. But it grows out, and then you have to do it again, and then you have to go
Yeah.
back and do more hairdressing. So there's all that kind of stuff, I think, that is changing a little bit for people. But there have been expectations certainly in the past about how to not look 50 or not I certainly have I have a friend who's very, very successful at what she does, but in her industry it is absolutely forbidden for women to be older than like 40 at the most. So she has to hide her age, and it's very, very difficult to remain in that and capitalize on all the work that she has put in. But I'm sure there are all kinds of different experiences of this. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, nobody has ever asked me why I let my hair go grey, and my hair's been going grey since I was about 30. So nobody has ever come to me and said, "Martin, why do you let your hair go grey?" Maybe they think I'm past that current. It's too late, or whatever the case may be. But it's never been raised. So there's just one tiny insight into the difference between men and women. I'm not
Well, would
qualified
you
to
though?
answer the question. Would I
You're
die
not
tomorrow?
qualified. Yeah, would you die?
Um, no, no, I just couldn't be bothered. Like, what? I don't need
Exactly.
it for myself. I don't need it for myself. I don't seem to be offending anybody with my grey hair. I don't think I am, and even if I was, so what does it matter?
They're very easily offended if
But
it's grey hair that's offending them.
yeah, so no. And in regard to the question, do I think it's harder for men or women turning 50? And again, I'm not qualified to say, and maybe I shouldn't say. I I I think it's harder for women. I think it's harder
Hmm.
for women. Um, because there's a lot happens. There's a lot of stuff happens that I would have known about if I hadn't been married. You know, there's a lot
Yeah.
of there's the issues with career. There's issues with family. There's
Mm.
responsibility. There's a responsibility that women take on that men, generally speaking, I shouldn't tar everybody the same brush, but when women get to the age of to our age in the families, it's my sisters that are taking up the burden of the family stuff, keeping the people together at
Mm.
Christmas, sorting out funerals. How do we look after the elderly parents? All of that
Mm.
stuff from in not just my family, and across a whole lot of families that I see, that burden seems to be carried by
Yeah.
more by women than by men. And they also have to look after their own families, and they also have to look after their own careers. While men just have this thing, well, I'm really busy doing accountancy, or I'm really busy, supporting this family, and somebody else has to look after all that. But women are equally in careers as that. Michelle is a
Mm.
senior member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Why should she
Mhm.
have to carry any more of a burden than I do? Because she is a principal of a practice. But
Yeah.
she's still, everybody looks to Michelle if there's family stuff that needs to be done. When I was ill, Michelle still made sure to be at the hospital every single visiting hour that she could be and more, and looked after me while I was in hospital, and looked after the practice, and looked after the family,
Mm.
and dealt with everything else that was going on at the same time. Would I
Here,
have
there's
been
an
able?
election coming up.
Would I?
I want Michelle to stand for whatever's whatever's there to be stood for. I think we should all vote for Michelle. I think she could get it sorted.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I agree. So yes, that would be my. I think it's unfair, but I think from what I'm seeing in the world, I think it's a
Mm.
tougher journey for women because the responsibilities and the burdens placed on them is more than what certainly than what I've experienced in my life and what I see with my friends that are the same age as me. Now maybe I come from the 70s, the 80s. Maybe it's
Mm.
a backdated view. I hope it is. I hope things are improving, but it's certainly the
Yeah.
view I see now.
Yeah. Well, I do think that, all of these things are part of a very big sort of tidal movement almost. And, the attitudes and so on, like you say, they are they're changing. I mean, we see attitudes to parenting changing, we see attitudes to work changing, we see attitudes to the environment changing, but they do take time, and we all have to, it doesn't happen overnight, and things move on with each generation. So, yeah, hopefully it is. I mean, I'll tell you actually, my mother, when she got married, she was working for the ESB as it was then down south, and she had to leave her job, which was better paid than my dad's, because she got married, and married women couldn't work for the civil service then.
Mhm.
So that at least has changed. Things have moved on, and things will keep moving on. And I guess it's, yeah, noticing those things and keep it going in a directionally correct way for, when my daughter turns 50, that she won't remember anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think we have to
Mm.
notice these things to improve them. Now, I notice one of
Mm.
the things I noticed that this conversation was going to be about half an hour or so. I
Yeah,
appreciate
we're
everybody's
coming up to
time
that
as
time.
well on here. So before we, I suppose, say hello or goodbye to everyone who's joined us this evening, tell us a little bit more, Derby, about what it is that you're hoping to get out of these conversations. So it's going to be a series of conversations
Mm.
going forward. What is it you think that we should expect and what will happen, and how do people get involved if they would like to be sitting where
Mm.
I am today?
Oh, you're so good at this, Martin. That's brilliant. So what I think would be great to get out of this is a range of views and experiences and aspirations and feelings about this milestone number, because there are obviously a lot of us. It's a very fine vintage, this one, and it would be really interesting to see what people have done with that, how they are feeling about it, and what they see as the way forward, as well as, you know, what's in the rear view now. To If you are that special age, or you're going to be that special age this year, then definitely get in touch with us, and you'll find us on LinkedIn or on Facebook or any of the other places that we do social media type of stuff. And thank you again for just showing an interest in this, because I do think that there are so many interesting people of this age, and we are looking for you, because we want to share what you've learned along the way with everybody else here as well.
Brilliant. Okay, I would highly recommend anybody reaching out to Deirdre, because not only is she a consummate professional, which is also really nice and great fun to work with, because obviously we didn't just pop out of the ground. This happening, we didn't just turn up 5 seconds before it started. Somebody had to prepare it, somebody had to think the idea, what questions are we going to ask, how is it going to be done, and everything else. So yeah, if you even have an inkling of a thought that you might want to join the conversation and share with us 50 years worth of experience and learnings and knowledge, and go ahead, Deirdre.
And do tell us, are we hitting 50 or are we turning 50?
Yes, we have to
the
get
question
that
of the hour.
I'm going to take a couple of seconds now, Deirdre, before you close off in your own inimitable way, just to thank some of my friends that I see have come on. So first of all, Sharon Mirza, thank you for coming on. Sharon is a fantastic guy. I suppose part of Sharon's claim to fame is that he's the chairman of ABC Business Networking, Ards Borough Council, or whatever, Ards and Ballymena, whatever that is. Go and look it up. Look up Sharon and look up ABC. And I highly recommend that you connect with those people, because if you're looking to business network, he is the guy to get you started. Hillary is a delightful lady. She's fantastic.
Hi, Hillary.
And I've known her now a short time, maybe nearly a year, but in that time I've managed to get out for about 2 or 3 walks with her. We've been at a couple of events together, and she always brings a certain je ne sais quoi to any meeting. So thanks for joining us. And she's also a great supporter. One of those people that she always lifts you, you know, raises not only her game. Yeah, so she's a lovely person. And Claire Sheehan, I haven't seen Claire now in a number of years, but it's great to see that you've taken the time out to join us. And finally, Niraj Kapoor.
Lovely Niraj.
Yeah, everyone is in sales, or everyone sells, or what is it? Can you remember, Deirdre, what you call the business?
Everybody works in sales, I think. Hope
everybody.
Everybody
exactly right. One of the most impressive TED Talks I've ever seen was by Niraj, and it goes without saying, anybody who meets Niraj he's a very generous person. You know, he's very generous. He never turns up with his 2 arms to one length. You know, he will always bring a small gift, or always have a thoughtful word or a kind word for people, and that's impressive. You know, it's not showing off or trying to be a big lad. He just genuinely is a nice person. So thank you, one and all, for coming along and commenting on all the rest. I see Sharon had a bit of a problem with the screen. I think the screen froze, and maybe we'll look into that. But that's me. So, Deirdre, do you want to close off and finalize this thing?
Yep. All I would say is, again, thank you. And thank you, Martin, for being game enough to just jump in with both feet into this with me. We'll just see where it goes. But I would encourage everybody just to hit that follow button on the page, so that you can see who's coming up next, because I've been talking to some really interesting people about sharing their thoughts on this as well. So looking forward to all of that, and just going with the adventure this year.
Good.
All right, everybody.
I think that's cheerio. All the best.
See you soon.